All right, North. Welcome back to the tactics board after our first weekend's game against East Bay. Managed to put out a good outing out there and hold them off, finishing a 6-5 final score out there in the beautiful weather on Saturday for our opening game. So nice job out there. Good job getting that first win and playing together as a team. Saw some good things out there. Saw some stuff that we are going to keep working on, of course, as there will always be room for improvement. But let's talk about the goods first. Did a nice job from the defensive side, and that's what this video is mostly about, the defensive side. Staying home, all right? Staying home, not getting overly extended outward, away from the house, and giving the other team big open dodging lanes to cut in from up top. So we did a nice job doing that. And then I saw a couple really nice trail checks. We'll talk about poke checks and how I didn't really see a whole lot of those. But from the trail check side, you guys were doing a pretty nice job of playing body defense and running with these guys for the most part. I didn't see a lot of guys getting beat, and then as you're trying to catch up, just taking wild swinging checks. I think we had one slashing penalty, and that was because we had a midfielder chasing down his man and just smacking his hip on the off stick side, which is going to draw a slash because you're not going for the stick at all. At that point, you're just trying to beat up the runner, and the ref's going to throw a flag on that. So we're better off just running with the man and trying to interfere with our body rather than just smacking him with a stick. But with the trail check, saw really at least two good opportunities, two examples of that, where defenders were playing the guy pretty well on ball, but he still managed to get around him. But instead of giving up and just smacking on the body, the defender trailed the man and then was able to get a nice trail check and get that ball out and cause a ground ball. So good job on the trail checks. Some of the others, the poke checks. I'm not seeing poke checks out of my defenders on the approaches. We're going to work that on practice this week. But when you approach your ball carrier, you should be coming in with a nice solid poke on that bottom hand and then giving him a couple more pokes on the hands while you're running with him to continue to harass him and make it more difficult for him to carry the ball. So we want to bring those poke checks into our approaches. It's going to make it more efficient and also keep us from overrunning on any type of either too big of a check, or what we tend to default to right now is a slap check on the approach. And we know that those slap checks are very easy to get up onto the helmet, which is going to draw a slash, and we just don't want to see that. We managed to avoid it this week, which was good, but we want to start focusing on those poke checks. And then finally, on-ball defense. We'll talk about that when we go to the board here in a second. But we did a nice job of staying home, which I like, but we sacrificed a little bit of on-ball defensive pressure in order to do that. So what I want to see as we go through practice this week and then into our next games is this concept of playing the ball on a string. The defender is on a string. He goes out, he plays this man when this man has the ball, and then he retracts back on that string back into the paint when the ball moves away. So we'll talk about that. But as a defender, you should always be moving out to play your man with the ball and then moving back into the paint to support either as a two slide potentially or whatever, left or right you may be at that case. So we'll talk about on-ball defense, and then finally ground balls. All right, we talked about it post-game. We're going to talk about it this week. You're always going to hear it, but we did a really, really poor job this week on ground balls. There's really no way to sugarcoat it. Bottom line, there were a lot of ground balls, contested and otherwise, where we didn't come away with a ground ball. We didn't play sound man ball, ground ball technique, or we just straight up overran uncontested ground balls, which then allowed the guys behind you to catch up and get in on that ground ball as well. So the fact that the score was 6-5 indicates that I don't know if we even got 10% of the ground balls in this game. It was really poor. So the fact that we came away with the win is really, really fortunate for us. If we can improve our ground ball percentage, we're going to have a much, much better time playing some of these tougher teams going forward. So with that said, let's go to the board. Okay, so the one specific thing I want to look at this week as far as things that we saw against East Bay, and this will come into play as we go into other games going forward. But one of their main methods of attack in the game on Saturday was they were using a man from X. They were taking an attackman out of X, and what they were having him do was, rather than attack very close to the pipe, he was actually pulling kind of far out in this direction and then making his dodge over the top and trying to dunk into the net. We did a nice job defending that, but we did it in a manner that could end up biting us. What we typically did was our ex-defender, in most cases Nate, our ex-defender was shadowing, but what he wasn't doing was playing ball. So this is some things that we're going to maybe potentially change a little bit. I don't mind you not being overly aggressive on the ball carrier at X, particularly if he's going to be a dodger, because I'd rather have you hang out right here next to the pipe in a position to defend well against the dodge if he's going to dodge. If he is a guy who's going to rotate it, then maybe we come out, but I don't mind being conservative on the ball carrier at X. So as he comes out this direction, a lot of what I saw was X defender was staying here and our bottom right pole was creeping in. And when he would dodge, what I saw a lot of times was a double like this. The danger here is that once that dodger gets wise to the fact that he's going to pull a slide, not from the crease, but from the left support defender, who you're left, he's right, he's hot, he's 2 in a crease package, right? So the guy who should be sliding should be this midi to double right here, and the 2 coming over here to prevent a quick dump and goal right here. What we weren't doing, we weren't firing very often from the crease. We were primarily firing adjacent and supporting a double right here. It was pretty successful because we were very, very crowded in the house here, and it was very difficult for this guy to get a decent look. I think he may have put 1 in, but he tried multiple times and for the most part was rejected. The ball ended up going onto the ground. We were in a giant scrum in front of the cage, and unfortunately we didn't come up with it a whole lot of times, and they usually were able to pull it back out and try again. We need to get better with the ground balls and the clearing of it, but for the most part, you're denying that shot, which is good. What I want us to be thinking about is understanding our roles and using the defensive scheme that we're running. If we are running a crease slide package, the hot slide should be coming from the crease midi right here, okay? So if we are concerned about the X attackman being a dodging threat, then he's going to dodge up. And if he goes outside, then he's going to play him over here with help from this midi. Recognizing the 2 here, you have to be very Johnny on the spot, because as soon as he fires, this guy's going to be open for a dump. If he's smart and real high lax IQ, he's going to see that easy opportunity. Now, on both the pole and the hot slide, your sticks need to be up blocking that feed, all right? You can't come in going only for the hands with a poke check. At this point, you really kind of need to have your sticks up to block that potential feed to this midi while the 2 slides in to cover. So just think about how that's going to kind of work if we're running a crease slide package, okay? So keep that in mind. The other thing that they were working, I didn't notice a whole lot of rotations as far as a motion offense was concerned, but they were having a couple instances where we're dodging, but also we were playing the ball. They were playing the ball out to bottom right, and what I wasn't seeing a whole lot at this point, once the ball is top side of the goal, right? So here's the goal. Once it's top side of the goal rather than behind the goal, we need to see some better on-ball defense coming out of our poles particularly. If their middies are keeping it way up top, then I don't want middies going way out here. Okay, that creates a very, very open look where they can exploit with both cuts and dodges. But if we're down low and we're running a crease slide package, okay, in this instance, ball is bottom right. This man is, I got ball, the midi is still hot, and the backside midi is 2, all right, and he's spidered in. This guy is floating around out here, that's fine. Everybody else is kind of spidered in this position, right? The ball passes back. And so I need my poles in particular. Middies were doing a pretty decent job, but I need my poles playing stronger on-ball defense, particularly when the wing attackmen, both bottom right and bottom left, have possession. We need to put more pressure on the hands, try to force some turnovers out in this region, get the ball on the turf, and get them more unsettled when they're down in this region. Because if we let them just stay out there and be comfortable, we're inviting either backside cuts with a quick feed because he's hands-free, so he's got a really easy feed at that point because we're not harassing his hands, or potentially an adjacent cut right here, same kind of deal. So we give them too many options. I don't want their attackmen to just be able to have a picnic out here and be unconstrained in their movement or their ball handling. So that'll be a big area of focus going into this week's game. On my low pole outside defenders, I want you to be stronger on your on-ball defense. If the ball bounces around this way, let's talk about on a string, defense on a string, okay? So we know at this point if the ball is at X, our crease attackman, or crease defenseman, or our X defender here is going to be, he has ball. Now, whether or not he goes out and plays hard on that ball is a decision to be made at the time. I'm fine with a conservative play where you're not really going to pressure the X-Men all that much. I'd rather have you stay even with the pipe to avoid any kind of dodge or getting beat as he comes around, especially if we're ahead by a goal or two, okay? So he's going to be shadowing, but then this man over here is going to be left, right? He's not left because he's not hot left because we're running a crease slide package, but he is left. He's right, hot 2, and he is kind of the 3 over here. All right. So at that point, he's on ball. Now, if the ball bounces out to bottom right, this pole is now on ball. This pole is still hanging out here. He's still hot, and he's still 2 at this point, okay? So going across the field. If the ball bounces up top up here, what has to happen is he's got the ball, see approach, poke check the hands, harass with poke checks to see if he's going to try to dodge, and if he decides to get rid of the ball, he's going to pass it up. Good, you've done your job, but get back into the house, okay? Come back in. This is defense on a string, okay? Ball's here, you're out on the string. Bam, 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 poke check, poke check, poke check. Trying to dissuade him from dodging. You're playing good, solid on-ball defense. He passes it away, good, I'm back here on the string. Okay, in and out. That's for every defender out there. Okay, you're always going to spider in if you're off ball, and once the ball is on your man, you're going to go play nice, solid on-ball D, good poke check, poke check, poke check, coming in, harassing the hands, playing nice defensive stance, watching for any type of dodge, and then once he moves the ball away, now you're back off. Okay, you back off, you spider in. On a string, in, out, in, out, in, out. Okay, that's how that works. If you hear me saying, hey, we're defense on a string, that's what I'm talking about. It means I want you to see approach the ball, right? Ball comes this way. You see approach the ball to cut him off. Poke check, poke check, poke check. You're staying goal side and denying the dodge. And then once he bounces it back off, you're back in. See approach the ball, poke check, poke check, poke check, and back over this way. Okay, that's going to be a big thing we're working on today, this week. Single 1v1 defense for the ball carrier and the on-ball defender. We'll be looking at that, and then we'll also be double checking our slide packages, making sure that the help is coming from the correct location, because here's the deal. If we continue to do what we did this game, where the attackman kind of floats out this direction and the left defenseman in a crease slide package, he's your hot, right? He's just left side. If he continues to spider in big time, what ends up happening is he comes in and V-cuts and then just dumps to this outside. There's no one there. He's got a hands-free rip straight to the cage. Okay, so if we're running a crease slide package, we have to stick with our roles. Do your job. Don't do someone else's job. When you start doing someone else's job, the system breaks down and there is a job that is not being done because someone's doubling up a job, right? If you're covering the slide here, that's his job, and now this guy is wide open to do whatever he wants. Okay, so that's the lesson for today. Let's do our jobs. Let's improve ground balls. We will be doing a lot of ground ball recovery drills, and we'll be working, again, crease slide package concepts with our line bump drill, as well as the Savage four corners drill, because you guys do really nice job with that. You're really calling out your names and roles very well with that. We're going to keep running that one because it's a very good drill to continue to swap around. Helps us out when we go open adjacent for a man down defense, and if we end up coming up against an offense that inverts the midi triangle and gives us an open look, well, guess what? You're going to be running an adjacent slide package at that point as well. Okay, so now you've got that whole rotation, and you're calling ball, hot left, hot right, 2 left, 2 right, and you're doing a real nice job with that one. Okay, all right, awesome. Looking forward to practice this week, and we'll see you later.